It's true. Some people have to wake up in the morning to check and see if they still got a dick. Well, I'm not one of them, because I know I still got mine. Oh, this is Mr. Hornsby 3. This is the Mr. Hornsby 3 show, and that is somewhat of a line from the freaking movie I'm reviewing today, which is freaking Judgment Night. Before I start the review, I want to say there were some other reveals at Comic-Con Saturday and Sunday and like late Friday, so I'll talk about those on the freaking live stream. Since it's a gassed up killer live stream this freaking Friday for GTA 1, I'll freaking talk about some of the other freaking reveals that happened, like movie news and a couple other things, because Marvel revealed some new movies. But anyway, let's get into the movie we are here to review today, and that is Judgment Night. Starring Emilio Estevez, Cuba Gooding Jr., Jeremy Piven, Stephen Dorff, and Dennis Leary. This movie is about four friends who are three friends and one with their brother, about to go to a boxing match. They get stuck on the highway, and then their friend tries to take the frickin' take a detour to get to the match, but as things turn out, they run into this freaking guy who just ripped off a crime lord, and then we find out who the crime lord is here in a short time. And and from there, it's pretty much a, I guess you could say, action thriller movie, because Billy Estevez and his friends are running from Dennis Leary and his gang for most of the freaking movie. So, before I go any further, I gotta say, this is one of my favorite movies. I've liked this movie since I was a little kid. I thought the climax was a little bit better when I was a kid, but then when I've watched it, or when I've gotten to be an adult, climax isn't really that, good and determined. It really a satisfactory climax as, especially with all the stuff that Dennis Leary's character, Fallon, was saying to frickin' Emilio Estevez's character, Frank, throughout the frickin' movie, calling them women, calling them pussies, calling them all that stuff, killing his friend frickin' Ray when Ray was trying to bargain with him. So yeah, the frickin' final battle just kind of ruined the whole build up in the movie. Like, it's like one of the lamest ways to kill off a villain, especially a good villain like Fallon, because that's something Dennis Leary's always been good at, being a jackass or being an asshole or being a villain. And then you combine those two together, he's one of the every time you see him in a movie as a villain, you're always rooting for him to lose. I mean, heck, probably even in Rescue Me, people were rooting for him to lose. Who knows? But yeah, that's how good of an actor he is when he plays a villain and an asshole. But yeah, an asshole villain. So yeah, just say asshole villain. That makes more sense. Anyway, but there's also some points to the movie where frickin' Cuba Gooding's character Mike keeps asking Frank what happened to him. He used to have big balls and all that stuff. It's definitely somewhat of a macho movie, but not as macho as something like, I don't know, Point Break. But it's somewhat of a macho movie. It's not as macho as frickin' we know Predator and that is, or other action movies of that time frame. Because there's always something macho in these movies, so yeah. Anyway, though, this guy rips off Fallon, and Frank and his friends get stuck. Oh, his brother Stephen Dorff, and his name's John Boy, or John. Speaking of John Boys, I'm gonna have some announcements when I finish this review for what I got planned for the rest of the year, because it's freaking the end of July. Talk about some videos I got coming up in the next few months and all that stuff. I already talked about a few of the playthroughs I got, coming up, but I'll talk about a few other things. But, so Mike's trying, like, where's your balls? Ray's supposed to be this, like, short salesman. I don't think is, and I'm thinking about this, like, wait a minute. These guys, there's 4 of them, and there's 4 of Fallon guys. Because you got Frank, you got Mike, you got John, and you got Ray. Now, Ray's the most cowardly one out of all of them. So he probably would have ended up dying anyway. Because he was a coward anyway. Then you have Fallon, his right-hand man, and 2 other goons that were working with him. I think one of them was played by one of the singers from Cypress Hill. I don't know what the guy's name is, but yeah, one of the singers from Cypress Hill. So they went, well, it starts out Emilio Estevez is with his wife, and he's talking to his wife, and she's like not happy that he's going out on with his friends, party or whatever they're gonna do, but they're just going to a boxing match. And he's like, well, it's just, it was tickets for this fight, and I wanted to go out and blah. And she's like, well, maybe when you come back, you won't be moping around the house so much. And they end up on the highway. They're heading, I don't know where, I guess they're in Chicago, or they're heading to, or they're in LA and they're heading to Chicago for this boxing fight. But now, as they're driving, they're not paying attention. They accidentally hit this one guy, and they're like, gotta be good Samaritans. I mean, after they almost got into a fight with someone on the highway, but the guy was being a douchebag, wouldn't let him get over. You got douchebags like that. And then when you call them out about it and you frickin' take it to them, they back down. But if you do that these days, these frickin' idiots are so cowardly they'll pull out a gun and shoot you, because that's how big a coward some people are these days. Anyway, so they get into this little town, and they're like driving through. They frickin' accidentally hit this guy, and they help him because they were like, well, we gotta be good Samaritans. We can't, let this guy, die and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. You should have let him die, because you know what? He ripped off Fallon. He was already shot. And, Razor even said, leave him. The cops probably gonna come get him or something else. They should have listened to Ray, because if they would have listened to Ray, they wouldn't have had to deal with Fallon and his men, probably. But they didn't listen to Ray, so they ended up getting chased by Fallon and his men because they witnessed them killing the guy that ripped Fallon off. So throughout the movie, there's a part where they're in this train cart and they're trying to hide from these guys, but there's a bunch of like hobos in there and they want something from them to keep quiet. So they freaking they give them stuff to keep quiet. And after that, they're getting chased by the guys again because one of the guys was being loud because he wanted Cuba Gooding Jr.'s freaking Purdue coat. And I'm thinking, because there's a point after they shoot the frickin' bum that he gives it to, or the homeless person that he gives it to, Dennis Leary takes the wallet that belonged to Frank, and he says, I hate Purdue. When's the last time they won anything? That's kind of true. And Purdue like in Indiana, so, yeah. But he hates Purdue. Purdue sucked at that point, I guess. I don't know. I didn't keep up with college football. But anyway. So, throughout the movie, they find themselves in a little, I guess you could say a hood area, and they're trying to find somebody to help them call. And they find these 2 ladies that do help them. And, Fallon and his men talk to the boy who saw him go in. And then, he had to make a deal with another dude. But they talk to the boy who saw him go in. And then they go up, they're terrorizing all these people trying to find Frank and all them. And while they're doing that, he's sitting there looking through, Frank's wallet. And he's like, That's a pretty hot wife you got there, Francis. Is she Italian? I've always wanted the fucking Italian woman. And he kept taunting him throughout the movie with that. So this is another reason why I think the frickin', why the frickin', final climax between these two was really not that great. So, after that, you know, they're getting ready to leave, but Ray's such a coward, he don't want to leave. He pulls out the gun on the frickin' ladies and that and says, we're staying here till the cops come. But then, you know, Frank and John convince him we gotta go because they helped them. And if they frickin' find all of us here, they're not only going to kill us, they're going to kill these people too. We don't want these people dead. So, yeah, I mean, yeah. And the threat of Frank not having balls throughout the movie, when it seems like he was like the probably ballsiest one out of all of them, because there's a point where they're in the sewer and they're going to make a stand, and like Mike's checking one tunnel, and then Ray's supposed to be, or not Ray, because Ray got pushed off the freaking roof, and John's supposed to be checking one, and then Frank's checking one, because there was only 3 ways in. So John panics when the right-hand man of Dennis Leary's guy comes in. He nearly kills Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character, Mike, but, you know, Frank saves him, and then, you know, Mike ends up shooting the guy because he's talking all that smack about Ray, because he's like, well, give me the gun back or you're going to end up dead like your friend, and then boom, shot him. Not very wise to taunt a guy who's got a gun on you with the death of their friend, because there's a point where they got to climb across this little plank, and it's like probably the most intense scene of the whole movie. They got to climb across this plank. There's a point Frank's climbing, and then it nearly collapses, but he makes it through, which they also put that in the trailer too when the movie first came out. So he crawls over, he's over in safety and that, and then Ray pushes the plank down. He thinks he can negotiate with Fallon, and what happens is he thinks he did negotiate with him, and then frickin' Fallon just knocks him off the frickin' building and kills him. So, you know, seemed like Ray's character was a asshole anyway, so he deserved to die. Yeah, he deserved to die, and plus, you know, out of those 4 actors, I'm pretty sure the biggest named ones were Cuba Gooding and Emilio Estevez and frickin' even Stephen Dorff at that time, because Stephen Dorff had been around for a while as an actor. I think this was like one of the early gigs for frickin' Jeremy Piven, so I don't know. But yeah, so one of them had to die. It had to be the frickin' one that, you know, was the sleaziest one, and that's what happened. So then we get to the finale, and Frank, all of frickin' Fallon's guys are down. Fallon done shot frickin' Mike and John, and they're both injured. So Frank finally decides to fight Fallon on his own. And at first he gets the best of him, but then Fallon comes back, gets a little comeback, and then, you know, Frank gets the comeback. And then he frickin' almost knocks him off down to the floor. But instead, he holds on to the board part, and he's like, help me for Christ's sakes. Like, why would you help this guy? He's been taunting you, talking about having sex with your wife, talking about trying to be the father to your child. You know, because throughout the whole movie, Frank's talking about he wants to get back home to his wife and kid. He wants to get back home to his wife and kid. And that's why he was running so much. Anyway, I do like the part where he's got him and he's got him down. He starts punching him and stuff. He's like, what you say you were going to do to my wife, asshole? Not so talkative now, are you? And then, like, once he gets the upper hand again, that's when he frickin' starts talking smack again. Which is true, because when Frank's beating the hell out of him, he's frickin' not saying a damn word. He ain't as arrogant, as cocky as he was before that. And then when he gets the upper hand, that's when he starts talking to smack again. So, anyway, Frank gets the best of him. And Frank tries to help him, and then Fallon tried to pull him down with him, which, you know, gonna try to help the dude anyway. If I were you, I would have fucking ran up and shoved his. I would have ran up and shoved him so he could fall. I would have acted like I was gonna help him. Like, okay, I'll help you. Boom! See you later, motherfucker. Want to talk about fucking my wife? You want to threaten my life? You want to kill my best friend? Yeah. Yeah. So Frank beats him by knocking him off. And, I figured like maybe there'd be something where like it comes to a point where it comes out to a shoot down. Like either he's gonna shoot frickin' Fallon or Fallon shoots him, but he ends up being the one to shoot Fallon. But yeah, I mean him frickin' trying to help Fallon after all the stuff that Fallon put him through that night. Like I said, I would have ran up and shoved the motherfucker off. Says, adios, motherfucker. That's for Ray, bitch. That's what he should have said. That's for Ray, bitch. And then we don't even get to see him reunite with his wife and kid at the end of the movie either. The freaking cop finds his wallet, gives him the wallet, and then he says, you got a beautiful family. And oh, they're outside. But you don't see them, get to reconnect with them because then it goes to the credits. So, overall, Judgment Night, I love this movie. It's a really good movie. Honestly, it's one of Emilio Estevez's best movies. Dennis Leary is always great as a freaking asshole bad guy. So, yeah. But, maybe the reason why he was trying to kill him so much is because in National Anthem Loaded Weapon, they had Dennis Leary's character cry like a bitch at Tim Curry and freaking William Shatner. No, please don't kill us. But, yeah. I think Dennis Leary was still a young up-and-comer at that time as well. But, like I said, he's a good asshole villain. That's one thing you can say about Dennis Leary. It's kind of like how Triple H with WWE. He was like one of the best villains in the Attitude Era, in my opinion. Probably one of the best villains ever in WWE at the time. Now there's been other people that's kind of up there with him, but yeah. Or you can even go back to Ric Flair, how he was when he was freaking the top guy in NWA, WCW. But yeah, that's Dennis Leary for me, man, with these freaking movies. He's the asshole bad guy, and that's awesome. Now, I know sometimes they try to put him as an anti-hero, and you know what, I think about it. Maybe he could have made a good Wolverine if they would have made an X-Men movie in the 90s. But I'm a Wolverine fan, but I do realize that Wolverine can be an asshole, especially if you've seen him in the X-Men animated series. He was assholes to everybody, even ones that he was supposed to be his friends. Like, that's like with the episode a couple weeks ago, the Weapon X lies and DVDs, and people were not happy with how Wolverine was portrayed. I'm like, have you guys not paid attention to the other adaptation of the cartoon where he's a fucking asshole anyway? Like, how many times did he pick at Gambit and him and Gambit were supposed to be buddies? Or how many times did he pick at other people that were supposed to be his buddies? Look what he did to Vindicator. And they were supposed to be buddies. So yeah. Anyway. Overall though, I gotta give this movie a 5 out of 5. And the reason why I decided to review it is because, I was watching Joe Blow's What the Fuck Happened to This Movie. And I'm like, yeah. Why don't people talk about this movie that much? One of Emilio Estevez's best movies. It came at a point after he just did Mighty Ducks. And honestly, I feel like a movie like this showed he can still play, because like they said, the reason why he took this movie is to see if he can still play as serious as a role as when he played Billy the Kid in the Young Gun movies and some other movies he had in his early career. But, I don't know, I thought he still did pretty good. I don't get it, man. Why didn't they just get another gun from one of, Fallon's men? And it could have been 4 and 4, because there was 4 of them, there was 4 of Fallon's men. I don't get that, but overall, the movie's a 5 out of 5 movie. I love the movie. I just picked it up because, like, at the antique mall out here where I live, they have a thing where they have free VHSs in the case, or an outdoor case. And you just take them, but you can't take them in the antique place. You gotta freaking get them after you get it. And I had looked at the antique mall, and then I went out and looked at the movies, and I found The Good Son, which is a movie I like. I know people hated it because Macaulay Culkin was beloved, and then he was a villain in that movie. and his own mom chose her nephew over him. But anyway, I even think it was his biological nephew. Yeah, it was her biological nephew. So yeah. And then and then I found Judgment Night on VHS. I'm like, oh, I love this movie. But yeah, the movie's a really good movie. If you've never watched it before, it's really good. One of Emilio Estevez's best. It's up there with, Maximum Overdrive and Young Guns and, Mighty Ducks, National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon. I wish they would have made a sequel to that movie. I seriously do wish they would have made a sequel to National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon. But at the time that came out, they had already done like 3 Lethal Weapon movies, so they pretty much just put all 3 Lethal Weapon movies in the Loaded Weapon movie and made fun of it. We also get a cameo from Charlie Sheen in that movie. And they make fun of Silence of the Lamb, which is just funny. And a couple other things, but yeah. Anyway. It's a 5 out of 5 movie. It's one of those movies that when you see the trailer, you're like, oh my god, these guys, there's 4 of them, and they're running from them. Then if you look at it, these guys, Frank and them have lived in the suburbs and all that stuff for a bit, so they weren't, the freaking right. And that's how I started out the episode with the line that Dennis Leary says to freaking Ray when he's sitting there going off, and he talks about how he hates people like him. He says, people like you gotta check in the morning to see if you still got a dick. I don't have to, because I still got mine. Or something like that. And he's like looking like he's gonna hit him and stuff because he would get so angry. But then when he says like, what, 2 million or something, he's like, oh, yeah. And then he just pushes him off the freaking rope because, he's like, yeah, I'm getting off this roof in one piece. You shouldn't have said that. You got off the roof in one piece, but your ass fell to your death too. So yeah. Anyway, I love the movie. It's also one of those movies that could be pretty quotable, especially with a lot of Dennis Leary stuff. And I've seen other people that have tried to be a villain like Dennis Leary in movies like that. And they just don't do it as well as he did it in that movie. You actually believe that dude would try to fuck your wife if he shot you and killed you. I mean, honestly, you actually believe that stuff, so, yeah. But, like I said, he plays a good asshole dickhead. Good asshole villain. A lot of times, so he's good at that. Anyway. So, you know what? July will be over at the end of this week. So, starting next week, it's going to be the Halloween run. I got a video where I'm going to be talking about Freddy's Nightmare Show. Talk about why I think Freddy Krueger had to tell those stories in Freddy's Nightmares for him to be able to do what he wanted to do in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And I'll explain why when I do the video. Also going to talk about something that's kind of, you wouldn't think you'd talk about compared together. I'm going to talk about Twin Peaks, the original run, and then the return run. And I'm going to talk about X-Men 97 and what that, with X-Men the Animated Series and X-Men 97 on something that is kind of a weird coincidence with both of these shows that they had. Also going to get out my video talking about good horror movies that came out in the 90s. Because I hear so many people bash the 90s when it comes to horror movies. Horror movies, they didn't have that many good horror movies in the 90s come out. There are some movies that came out in the 90s that were pretty good. That have been even better than some of the 80s horror movies that came out. I'm going to try to find a couple other, Halloween themed games, horror games or whatever to play for this year. Probably go back to a couple of games this year as well. What else? I don't know. Might talk about Tales from the Crypt and maybe some of my favorite episodes from that show. Also talk about, I know a lot of other people have done it. I also might talk about some things I would change about certain horror movies and certain horror franchises to make them better than what they were. I know a couple other people have done that. I've seen like, Cody Leach do it. Freaking, I've seen Nick Lost River Drive-In do it. I think the Rum Dums did it. A couple other people have done it. I'm gonna put my own take on it. And you know what? Next Friday. Yeah. Next Friday, I'm gonna have a live stream on my NFL picks, but I'm gonna have 2, maybe 3 guest stars on the frickin' show that day. I'll talk to them about it this week so we can get it set up and do this video. It'll probably be in my backyard. So, one's gonna be JC, my brother-in-law, who done a few videos with me. Another's gonna be Gene, who's done a couple NFL picks with me. We also did the freaking debate on if Cops was a ripoff of G.I. Joe, which I thought it was, and he didn't think it was, and we were just talking about that. Yeah, third guy might be Bubs. Gene's son, Bubs. I don't know. I thought, I'm like, well, you can't come on here and say Kansas City's going in every division because they're not in every division. So, yeah. Next Friday, that's going to be the live stream. Also, Halloween Figure Havoc. I ended up being the final video I do of the year. It depends on when I decide to do Halloween Figure Havoc. Like, but the last 3 shows I did pretty early. Yeah, because I did Wrestle Figure Mania early. I did the Figure Rumble early, and I just did earlier this month. A couple weeks ago, I just did the freaking Bash at the Figure Beach, which was pretty early. What was it, the 10th? Yeah. So, yeah. That's what else. I probably got some other horror themed stuff planned for Halloween run. And then I'll get play through the GTA, doing some horror games. Try to get some new ones. Get some fresh games into the freaking lineup that I haven't done before. Or, do a game that I did once and I haven't done again since. Or did a game that I did on Facebook and didn't do on freaking YouTube. So we'll see. But, yeah. And I will talk about all the other Comic-Con news stuff that came out. I'll talk about one of the scummiest things that freaking Rockstar did to people back in the day. Because it is going to be a GTA game I'll be playing through, so I got to talk about some GTA stuff. And a few other things I'll talk about on that freaking video. But anyway, till Wednesday when I do my Shark Week reaction, and I already got to say, last night's first episode sucked. The other 2 episodes after that were good. I did not like the first episode. The 2 episodes after that I did like. I'm going to be talking about what is causing great whites to grow bigger each year, it seems like. Because there was a show on last night where they were hunting for a shark. It wasn't deep blue either. That clocked in at 20 feet long. And they called it Big Rose. And I'm going to talk about what could be causing these great whites to grow bigger and bigger. Seems like each year. I believe it was another female shark. Another female great white. So yeah, I'll talk about that Wednesday. And I'll talk about a few other Shark Week things on the live stream Friday too. So, because it'll be over, Saturday? Yeah, pretty much Saturday. They'll show some things early in the day on Sunday, and then when it gets around 8 o'clock, they'll be on freaking doing stupid crap like, Naked and Afraid and all that garbage again. Also going to try to get a few reviews in on the Pennywise show, or Welcome to Derry show, because it's supposed to come back this year. And then I'll talk about, when they have the season finale of X-Men 97 Season 2. I'll review the whole season. I reviewed the first 3 episodes. Well, I did review episode 4 as well, which still has been my favorite episode of this season. It's definitely going to go into one of the best Apocalypse episodes next year for X-Men month when I do a rehash of Apocalypse episode. Maybe the finale will do that too. Honestly, I also got, which I might talk about before the day before the finale, I might talk about something I think might happen that'll lead into season 3, because they've already freaking shown a clip. I guess it's the first episode of season 3. They already showed a clip at freaking Comic-Con this year. I watched that freaking panel. So, we'll see. Anyway, that'll do it. Please like this video, leave a comment, subscribe for more. Follow my Facebook fan page, Mr. Hornsby 3 Show. Follow my Facebook business page, Trajan Toys, and check out all the other videos I got on here. And, I'm on the road to 200 subscribers. I mean, heck, I'm at 166 right now. Can we get to 200? Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, because I said I was going to do a giveaway if someone guessed right what newly tooled belt that Mattel would reveal at Comic-Con this year. It was like way early in the year, I'm pretty sure. Thought I'd do a giveaway, but, nobody guessed right because they didn't reveal any new tool belts at Comic-Con. They just revealed a bunch of figures, which is fine with me. Maybe they'll do that at Ringside Fest, so maybe if they reveal something at Ringside Fest, they'll still give the giveaway to whoever decides to, choose it. But we'll see. But that'll do it. Catch you guys later, and peace out. This video's probably going to take forever to upload. Peace out.